the kids decide it's going to be only multiple choice questions. It will be timed, but it shouldn't surprise anyone. Like it'll be quite painless in regards to testing yourself on the content. Okay. 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 Then that's it. So today our lecture is strategic human resource practices. And when I prepared for this, I was going to do more of an interaction, but I'm tired. I'm sure you're all tired. Are we all excited for reading these?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm dying. I really need it. But I wanted to talk about strategic human resource practices on a practical level. Okay, so this isn't anything from the textbook. It's just talking about what HR looks like today and practical considerations in that mindset. Okay, so when we talked about employee experience, which I read some of the people who submitted, some people, I know we have extension, but the people who submitted already had really great ideas, right? So recognizing, bringing that content to life in the sense of what other organizations are doing is impressive. I was happy about it. But this notion of employee engagement is fundamentally valuable to organizations, right? So when people are happy and they're productive, they're doing more. I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with a full-time professor, okay? And him and I do some leadership together, right? We do a leadership program, etc. So when we're paid to do it with the community, we're actually paid triple the amount. So when we do it community-wide, our salary is triple the amount. But when we do it individually with organizations, we get paid 1/3 less, right? Because it's a smaller group, whatever in that regards, okay? So we actually just announced that Windsor Police, we're partnering with them for this leadership training. And he said, I'm not doing it, okay? Why do you think he said, I'm not doing it? Right, like if you're being paid triple to do it when it's to the community, and we get 1/3 less because it's a smaller group, is that motivating?
No.
Okay, but I do it. Why do I do it? Because I love it. I will say I find being active with local organizations and hearing about their leadership challenges and their issues makes me a better instructor. I'll be honest in that mindset because most of my clients are in Eastern Canada, do you know what I mean? So recognizing it's very rewarding, and I don't care about the money. I'm like, this is a great experience, I enjoy what I do. Do you get where this comes into play about employee engagement, okay? Now, back from managing employees, this organizational citizenship behavior. This is when employees are going above and beyond on their work and not required to. This is helping behavior, right? Being kind and collaborative, those components. It's highly correlated to employee engagement. So why am I suggesting this? This is when we talk about more strategic functions in human resource management, okay? So we talked about employee experience. Now we're talking about employee engagement, right? So it starts right from the beginning of having an exceptional onboarding experience. When you started this program, you had orientation, correct? Did you like it?
No.
Yeah. What did you say?
Oh, I mean the orientation
Yeah.
itself.
Yes. You didn't find it helpful? No? That's okay.
I did.
Initially he said no, he's changing his answer.
That's okay, no, because that's a good point in the sense of it could be done well or it could be done for the sake of doing it, right? So recognizing when you were orientating, you got to meet the senior students, right? That had value. They said, watch out for this person. But recognizing they give you feedback in that mindset, okay? Painting a compelling picture for the future, we have to get our employees excited about the work that they do, right? So recognizing every organization has pros and cons, but if we can look at the future and indicate we can make changes, we can make impact, this is important. Letting their employees use their talent, right? So recognizing, not micromanaging, not necessarily making policies and procedures that make things difficult to do. Make sure that the employees can see they make a difference, have an alignment of what the employee does and the organizational goals. Feedback, community and support, treating employees fairly, allowing them to speak up, etc. My point is this not your employee management course or your managing employees course, all of this stuff? Did you guys talk about it? Yes. Okay. It has value, and one thing I will indicate, and as we go further in the course, how do we communicate this value to our leaders, right? How do we ensure that there's actual impact by making sure our employees are happy, to make them productive, to make us profitable, okay? So when we talk about organizational commitment, there are a number of considerations we need to look at. So affective commitment is providing an emotional attachment to the organization and a strong identification with the goals and values. So it's coming to work every day and saying, I believe in what Odette does, I'm gonna continue it, okay? Have I ever told you guys this story? I used to work at St. Clair. Did I tell you that story? Yes. And their international program, did I? Yes? No,
you didn't.
Okay, then here it is. So when I first started teaching, by the way, I never wanted to be a teacher, ever, okay? The world works in mysterious ways. But I wanted to teach more, so then I had people at St. Clair who were like, come teach, we have an international program, you know, you're working at the university, do it, okay? Well, their international management program, do you guys know anyone in it, by the way? Not good.
People I know they are very good.
Not good at all. Okay, their students are pushed through, they're not supported, okay? There's not an ecosystem to make them successful, and basically it's here, come to class, take your money, and see you later, right? I will indicate to you after you leave Odette, you are gonna be part of this community for the rest of your life, right? And you are supported, our program is accredited, our instructors, you know, aren't perfect, but they care, okay? And I couldn't work there anymore, because why? I felt almost like I was stealing, because I'm like, I don't believe in the work that I'm doing there. I come in and I collect a paycheck, which was nice, but I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore, right? I don't believe in the work that they do, and I would complain a lot too, just so you all know about it. That's effective commitment. Normative commitment, this is feeling obligated to stay on an organization for moral, ethical reasons. Give you an example, your first HR job in Canada, you will have tremendous gratitude to that organization. They give you your first HR job. But if 2 months later you get your dream job for 3 times the salary, you go. But a normative commitment, you would think, well, they gave me that first opportunity, I have to stay. Do you?
No.
Okay. And then the other thing is, this is important because oftentimes, especially in the work that I do in the public sector, it's continuous commitment. Staying with the organization because of perceived economic value, not with stock options, but tends to be with pensions. So recognizing you work in the public sector, those pensions are very good. They call them the golden handcuffs, okay? So people indicate, if I go work at a startup organization, it's gonna be risky, I'm gonna stay where I'm at, okay? The other thing is sometimes social costs. So if you work with your friends, you know, obviously you won't be as close friends with them anymore, and that might be something you think about. This is something, okay, in Canada, we have the 13 components of psychological safety. I think that's right, that's why I was rolling my eyes. It might be 12 or 13, I'll post it. Burnout is real, okay? I don't wanna ask if anyone's been burned out, but maybe you have. And recognizing this is a physical and emotional stress, frustration, or working long hours, having a high stress work environment. Sometimes job demands include safety risks, so oftentimes, not because of working with Windsor Police, but with police, God, never. If you ever saw a baby being murdered, you'd have PTSD. Would we agree with that? Like, I would die. Anyways, we're recognizing that's an example of a job demand that would have tremendous stress. People go in that perspective, okay? Burnout used to be seen differently. Now we recognize it's a true organizational problem. So that's why you're seeing more about health and wellness and organizations having full departments of people actually doing this type of work because it's very important. So when we look at burnout symptoms, as I'm complaining about I'm tired, I'm just tired because I'm finally feeling better. But fatigue, weight loss or weight gain, low energy, headaches. How do we see in behavioral perspectives? If they're emotionally outbursting, if someone is reacting to situations that doesn't align to the situation, it could be they're stressed, right? Irritability, sarcasm, depersonalization. And we look at an organizational level, because obviously we care about work performance, we see less work performance, decreased initiative, and indifference. I see this the most with high performers who get burnt out or they're disengaging in some perspective. I look for that in organizations, okay? So other things we want to think about, we're switching over to turnover. I missed a slide, okay. Here, I was supposed to do this one first. So now we're moving about turnover. One thing that I want to indicate, as HR professionals, we need to understand that not all turnover is negative, right? Sometimes there's an employee, they're problematic, we just want to push them a little bit so that they quit before we have to performance or fire them. But there are 6 types of employee turnover, and again, some are not bad, some are. Volunteering is when the employee chooses to leave for personal or professional reasons, whatever, okay? Depends on what their performance level is that we consider. Involuntary turnover is when the employee gets fired, right, for either poor performance, misconduct, or reorganization. So a layoff sort of perspective. Functional turnover is when we have a poor performer deciding to leave. Sometimes they see the writing on the wall, they go get another job, and it's good for the organization because again, we don't have to fear about going through litigation. Dysfunctional is the departure of a successful employee who the company would like to retain. Avoidable is ultimately preventable turnover. Turnover to a lack of promotional opportunities, turnover for interpersonal conflict. And unavoidable is recognizing, again, sometimes people move with their spouse across country, those types of components. Again, could be bad or not, but recognizing I want to indicate not all turnover is bad. Sometimes, when we think about attrition, if we're about to go on layoffs and people start leaving, we just don't replace their position and we're not laying people off, okay? So, benefits of turnover is that we get opportunity to kind of make more opportunities for transfers or promotions, right? From the manager leaves for an opportunity, there's movement. Sometimes there's savings for not replacing a departing employee. Unfortunately, right now, there's some organizations that are working very lean. So if people leave, they just don't replace the position, but then that could lead to burnout, right, in that sense. Better performance or customer service, depending on the person, acquiring new skills, and having different team members or new team members, okay? But turnover cost or negatives is that there's gonna be that transitional period. So if a manager leaves, I often get very nervous, as an HR professional, when senior leaders leave. Not because I like them, but I know changes are gonna happen, right? The way that we operated before is not gonna be the same way. It makes me nervous because I have to be like, how much teaching do I have to do? I'm just kidding. Recruiting and hiring replacement, we know the cost associated to that, loss of clients, depending on what that is, teamwork, and sometimes that may decrease employee morale. But my point in this perspective is not all turnover is bad, okay? Sometimes it's good to kind of freshen up the work, because one thing I'll indicate, when I worked at the school board, it's so funny, because I started my very first HR internship at the school board, and just last month I did training with them, and I'm like, nothing's changed in 15 years. The people are the same, they complain about the same stuff, and I'm like, nothing's changed. And they're like, you changed. I'm like, okay. So being mindful, some movement is good. So recognizing optimal turnover is turning over levels that has the highest return on productivity and improvement. Okay, again, these are things that we think about. Okay, we don't have to go into these details because we did downsizing before, but recognizing these, there's different perspectives. So downsizing is pretend we outsource the payroll function in HR. We would downsize and get rid of those individuals. Layoff, we're not doing well with our revenue, right? So we have to cut costs, and termination is legal termination, okay? So, Sarah, this is the thing, okay. Okay, this is some retention strategies. One thing I will indicate, it's a better cost saving to keep good employees than try to go find new employees, okay? So some of the things that we think about that are very good for retention strategies is getting good at recruiting. So we put honesty in recruiting, right, in that regards. Making sure our jobs are equally challenged, not too challenging, but not too difficult. Actually, let me ask this question. Do you think it would be stressful if your job was too easy? No? Yes?
Yeah, I mean, how stressed.
So let's look at this. Pretend I hired you as a recruiter, okay? And all you had to do was stick to a script of questions and write down the answers. So you can't make the hiring decision, you can't offer input, you literally can only ask those strict questions, and that's it. Would you be bored?
Yeah.
But then after a while, you might feel disgruntled, right? That like, it might be an internal struggle where you're like, I'm not valued here, my opinion, and that's stressful. You get what I'm saying in that regard? So being mindful that and the other piece is, what if I'm paying you $10 an hour, right? So that would be more upsetting in that regard. But so you want to get that job challenge right at that sweet spot. Not too much that you feel overwhelmed, but not too under challenging that you could potentially be disgruntled or I would say stressed, maybe, okay? High quality supervisors, this is why my training program that I feel like it's the only thing I talk about is so famous. I'll say confidentially in this room, the reason why Windsor Police has engaged with the university is because they have big issues with their leaders, okay? So, and I'm talking about ethical issues, so we all know. But being mindful that coming back and training them on how to do it effectively gives them the why to indicate, you know what, maybe you shouldn't do what you're doing, right? I'm not gonna say what it is, but it's bad. The other thing is flexible work. I was talking to some of my MBA students this morning, and I think we've talked about this before about remote work, right? And I said, like, I would love it, but I don't think you guys would, right? You want to go into the office, interact. Does anyone want to work remote, fully remote? Yes. But one thing is, those of you, and I get, because actually somebody convinced me, when you're new, it's nice to see whatever it is you're working on, to interact with people. I get that. But maybe you don't want to go every day. Maybe Fridays you're working out. So hybrid might be up your alley. Some organizations are very resistant to that. And why, right? If that's going to keep good employees, then why can't we have them work 2 days a week at home? Those perspectives. Pay and benefits, accountability, support, etc. So these are things that we can think about with retention. We already talked about succession management, right? We talked about that last class. But again, here are some more practical components when we think about keeping that process simple. When we indicate that, we want to ensure that people understand the succession management, and if you are interested in growing in that company, how to do it. I'll give you an example. I have a colleague, actually she had started consulting before me. She's actually very senior in HR, and she left her job and started consulting. So she actually started consulting, this was a few years ago, with the city of Windsor, and basically she had this program which was correlated to succession management, where if you were on the succession management track or promotional track, you had to go through this mentoring and leadership program. But she had this criteria that you had to get a certain amount of points to get into that program that nobody understood, right? Do you think people like that? That they indicated, we're interested, right? We want to go on the fast track to get trained and developed for these positions, but you need to meet the criteria of this formula of points. They fired her, right? They're on you, because everybody was so upset that, okay, if you want to be selective, you can be selective, but people have to understand what's the criteria, what do you need? You need this performance, etc. So who got the contract? But I'm just saying, that's what they say about keeping it simple in that regard. The other thing is, these are things we all talked about, making sure it aligns to business activity, that we look at development, all that good stuff, okay? So workplace deployment is ultimately when we move people around. I will indicate some employee, I think I talked about this last class, sorry. When we move people around to develop them, right? So they go to other jobs in the company to develop, or we need them, right? Maybe Diana's really good at managing a team, so we put her as a leader of the worst team at that organization. Diana's not gonna like it, but she has to go, right? Do you guys get that point in that sense, okay? So these are the takeaways in that regards, and then I'm gonna very quickly talk about some more strategy components. I know you guys are taking, is it high performance, with 10 votes, what's that course called? Managing, okay, so this, I'm gonna be talking about high performance work systems. Okay, so it might be similar, but I have a different, because I don't know what he teaches, so I'm sure it's fantastic, but I'm gonna just touch upon a little bit, probably what he talks about, okay? Does he talk about work culture? Probably, right? How this is aligned with culture.
No, it's not, it's not.
Okay. It's a leadership. You guys could, what? I'm not gonna ask. Organizational culture, you know, it's hard to define organizational culture. Even though I'm gonna tell you it's the norms, values, and assumptions, I would indicate, oh, it's there. Organizational culture is the personality of that organization, okay? So actually, it's funny, again, I was talking to a student upstairs, and one of the former organizations that I worked at, I'm like, I would never recommend it. And I worked in HR there, right? Because it's a very cutthroat culture in that regard. But this impacts employees' perceptions and recognizing if it's a good place to work or not. As HR, we're responsible for org culture, but can we do it alone? No, because it's the managers, employees, and how they show up, okay? So high performance work systems is looking at high commitment organizations. And at this point, is this what he talks about or no? 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 What's that class about?
He talks more about psychology.
Or psych? How it, okay, all right, yeah, because he's an organizational psychologist, right? And, oh yeah, I told you that story. How he said I have no HR experience, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I hired you as a consultant more than once in my life. Okay, so one thing we recognize is that when we want this high performance work system, it takes a high level of organizational commitment, employee engagement, etc. How do we do it? We involve employees at all levels, right? So when we think about high performance work systems, this is high employees self-control, self-manage, and they care with the company because they're responsible for their success and they contribute more, okay? So why do we think that's valuable? Actually, can we name a company that they really rely on their employees for success?
University of Queensland.
Ford, yes, they actually do, yes, they have high, actually Ford is a, and I think they might have a goal.
The big four, KPMG,
Oh, the big four, yes, you're right, yes, definitely, so like Deloitte, okay, sorry, I think it's Ford, because Ford is very good. Ford, no, the big four, I agree, that's actually better. Because they actually rely on the big four, on their employees' knowledge, right? So recognizing they do a lot of consulting and they're paid a lot of money, but their asset is their employees, right? Even the accountants as well, okay? Anyone interested in that type of work with the big four? Others? Yes. So it's not hard. No.
It is hard.
Why? What? How does that
Very unique.
Right, people and culture is what they call them.
Yeah, it's usually for accounting students.
Finance.
No, they
Yes.
have people involved. They have
They
people
do,
involved.
the amount of opportunities that
Yeah.
those
Okay.
other people have.
Don't let that defer you. Don't let that defer you. Come talk to me about, because EY, I only know that one, to be honest, like intimately, I know people who work at Deloitte, but they're not called Deloitte anymore, they're called Admin. Yeah, because my whole cousin works there, Rochester. But maybe part of it, Admin. What was it?
The big four.
Oh, it's,
Maybe 4,500.
Here, I'll put Big Four,
And that group also.
Deloitte.
Four major ones, that's what they're called, four.
So we actually have, we don't have EY, but we have, Deloitte, which I think is called something else now. We have PricewaterhouseCoopers, but, KPMG is here too. We don't have EY, but they also have, consulting, right? So a lot of them, but I know we'll talk, I'm not kidding, because I don't want you to feel discouraged. They should be coming here, and they have an internship thing.
They usually do, yeah.
They're gonna be here for the accountant, 100%, because they have to hire like 20, right? The problem with HR is the field of HR is naturally competitive, right? Because recognizing we're not hiring 20 accountants, we're hiring 2 HR people, 1 HR person. But don't let that deter you, okay? I think I said this to another class. No, I said it to this class. That the cream of the crop tends to be an extra 10% effort. Do you know what I mean? So recognizing those other people, and I know like they recruit a lot for Ivy, like those are schools that they're the best business schools, like we can't compare ourselves to Ivy or UMT. But I will indicate you have the same opportunities, right? Yes, they're gonna be going to those schools and grabbing those students, but if you apply, you have the same opportunity to be hired. I promise you, I've seen it, you know what I mean? I wanna see what Deloitte changes to. I think it's MNP now. Okay, MNP acquired some of their business, because my little cousin's an accountant, and he had said, I said, where did you go? He's like, yeah, it's, anyway, we can get talked about it. What was I saying? And Deloitte does have internship, don't they? Did you guys see that?
Yes, they do.
Are you guys applying to it?
Yes.
Yeah, come see me. My office hours are from 3 to 5, Monday to Wednesdays, and if we need to get on Teams, do you know what I mean? Because those of you who are graduating in January, now's the time, okay? I will say right now, I know this, the job market in Windsor specifically is dry. I actually have statistics to indicate that, but we need to be applying now, okay? So that's your push for the day. And now back to our lecture. So they did come, did they only come for accounting though? Just they only want to talk to the accounting students? Yes, because they have to, they do. In that sense. And then there's this also, it's local, there's an accounting firm, Mello, but they're trying to get into HR consulting. I did ask them to come talk to the class, but they can't this semester, but keep an eye on them. It's called MELO LLP. They're in Leamington, which is like 40 minutes from here. But they've talked to me about trying to get like HR consultants, and they want like junior people, right? But I don't know how that's going, because I think they need someone to lead it. I can't, because it's fun, right? Because they're my competition. But being mindful of that, okay? So, you know what I wanted to indicate? Let's look at the difference okay, so when I think of high performance work organizations, the Big Four, yes, okay? I was saying four because they're quite innovative, right? And additionally, I think of like Google, right? Again, just like the Big Four, they rely on their employees as assets, okay? So when we rely on them, we want to give them capability to do the work they want to do the way they do. Another organization that I want to highlight is Tesla. What do we think about Mr. Elon Musk's Tesla organization? Is it a good place to work?
Yeah.
It is, yes. But is it deeply toxic? He's crazy, okay? When you look at what not to do in HR, it's everything he does. But will they pay you well? They will, okay? But I also think some of his crap, like he fired somebody on Twitter, like when they acquired Twitter. But recognizing that's not work, I was like distracted. When we think about high performance work systems, it's giving employees autonomy to do the work that they want to do in the way that it is, and give feedback to the organization, right? And listen to that feedback. These are the benefits in this component. Did anyone go talk and see McCain Booms, Mr. McCain, that CEO? Why did you go? Why?
was too early in the morning.
I went there.
So, you know what, I slept
Oh,
in,
you did?
I
Yeah.
know, I slept in too. I was registered.
But he
and I
wasn't-
tired.
How is it?
Yeah. No.
No, it was in the
Auditorium.
auditorium, yeah.
Who came to your class? Another,
Yes. There is that was for the airline.
oh yeah, he wanted to come to our class, was he good?
No.
No. Well,
No, I think it was okay, but like it wasn't really. So I read his article.
Yeah.
So he basically just talked about like what he wrote in that article and just answered some questions.
Oh, that's the
But-
main guy? The main-
Yeah, the McCain, the CEO of Maple Leaf Foods.
So, and then the other guy was an airline or?
Entrepreneur, I think.
Yes, he
Yeah.
wanted to come to our class and I
Oh, okay, I
responded
don't know.
too late, so I'm
Well,
fine.
no.
Thank you. Thank you.
He wasn't good, eh?
No.
Alright, they need to get some like fresh blood, do you know what I mean, like fresh blood. Okay, my point was, if anyone went to the basically, well you did, so that's good. But basically they talk about organizations and social responsibilities. So recognizing most organizations are in business to make money, right? We like money, we all like money. With this individual who is, you know, whose family owns Maple Leaf Foods, was indicating organizations also have social responsibility. I will indicate there's some value, right, in this, because recognizing you don't want to be embarrassed with the organization that you do. Like, for instance, some companies, you know Shein, does anyone shop at Shein?
Yes.
You know that they're very bad to third world countries and their
Yeah.
competition. So if you worked in HR there, wouldn't you be a little embarrassed about that? Like, you know what I'm saying? So this is what this is saying, okay? Skip. Oh, this is important. When we talk about ethical issues in HR, actually, let me ask you all a question. So you all know I work for the union. I don't work for the union. I'm a union executive, which I think is hilarious. Okay, so on our executive, every year or every week, we're in meetings 4 or 5 hours per week. We have an entry-level position, administrative assistant, and one of our executive members says, "My daughter's looking for a job. Can you consider her?" Should I?
No, you should consider us.
We should. This little kid was like $40,000. Does anyone have a job yet? No? Not yet? No one? Not yet?
Part-time?
No? Like a professional, like, you know, like a career lined up? Okay. We're gonna work on that in this class too, okay? Because first step, okay, look, I can't, okay. You're making my class boring. Okay, so besides the fact that you want that job, if somebody who volunteers for an organization wants you to consider their child, is that unethical?
Yeah.
You consider? Yes? No? Who says yes? Okay, all right, you wanna make it better, let's flip it, let's move it away then, okay? You have two sisters, right? That's right, I'm just kidding. So recognizing early in her career, all my sister wanted to do was work for the government. She didn't even care what she did, she was like, I want a government job, I wanna work 8 to 4, I wanna have a salary pension, and I wanna go home, fine, okay? So I worked at the hospital, but my very good friend worked at the health unit. Where does my sister work? Okay, so I didn't call my friend and said, hey, my sister's applying to this job, but my friend saw her resume, hey, same last name, you know, very similar perspective, and said, oh, this is Diana's sister, okay? Did she push her resume through? She did, okay? Is that not ethical?
No.
But what is that? You can say yes, you can say yes.
No, it's not.
No.
I mean, if she does have the qualities that
She
they
did.
need,
Yes.
so
Well,
it's
aside,
fine.
it's not a question of resume, she has to be interviewed.
She did.
It's not like she just handed out the
Job,
job, so I don't
yeah.
think
I agree, but my friend, she didn't, because obviously my sister has me, and I coached her, but if my friend called up and said, Delilah, these are the interview questions you're gonna be asked, make sure to talk about A, B, C. Sound unethical?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so one thing when we talk about staff, and other things, I always give this example. You know, if the president of the university wants me to interview his child, I'm gonna interview him or her. But if he gives me a gift card as you're being interviewed, I can't take it, because that's gonna impact my decision, okay? One thing I will indicate as HR professionals, we're privy to a lot of information, right? We work with managers, we make hiring decisions, we make promotional decisions. How we do this, there could have ethical implications. One is privacy, right? We can't say, oh, do you know how much Diana makes per year? Because she does nothing but sits in her class, you know? You can never do that, would we agree? Yes? Staffing, right? Some people, when you're dealing with employees, found that they have fake credentials during the hiring process because it's HR that verifies it. Rewards, et cetera, et cetera. So when you do your designation, if you choose to do your designation, there is actually an ethical consideration, of course, it's free, that you have to do, because I will indicate there are things that we're privy to the organization, and we have to uphold confidentiality and fairness, okay? Does everyone feel comfortable with ethics now? Yes, okay. Where are we at here? Corporate. So every organization, I will indicate, has a code of conduct. So this is being respectful to other individuals. As HR people, we have to not only uphold it, we have to exceed it, right? We're the standard in regards to behavior. So being mindful of that, okay? No more ethics, I'm bored. Okay, skip. Okay. These are just more metrics. We are going to be doing metrics. Did anyone do that HRIS class that I sent you all? You did? One?
Oh, no.
What was that?
I don't understand. Was there a link to it?
Yes.
So if you do it, I'm gonna write it to you all. Once you do it, the University of Windsor said they'll give you a certificate. I know that's important to some people.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
What? Email me. Why not?
You have to have a session.
You didn't get the
Because
people
of
stuff?
the trainer
Okay.
headquarters. So professor.
Yeah, she said the same thing. Okay, so I did ask IT, they're looking into it, because if you're on the break, you get no emails from me either?
No.
Who else doesn't get my email? Okay, send me a we already talked, but the rest of you, send me a personal email, and I'm gonna make sure that you're on a different distribution list. I'm gonna put no email people, because that's how I communicate, do you know what I mean? So I did send out a HRIS training because the person had COVID, and then I got the University of Windsor to agree, once you do it, that we'll issue a certificate indicating you completed this training for HRIS, and it's, I don't even know how many hours it is, but we will certify that, okay? I'll resend it to those of you who didn't get that email, but I think that's what you guys were looking for, is some training and recognition that you did something, okay? My point was, we're gonna be doing people analytics in this class, okay? I will indicate, I actually took a training for executive HR, I don't know how I got it there, I'm just kidding. But it was a people analytics one, and there's 160 analytics or metrics in HR. That's not what we need to know. We need to know what is most valuable, and I would probably say 15 of them, okay? But these are just these metrics that we're gonna be looking at. So actually, that is it. I will indicate, I'm so excited for you week. I'm sure you all are too, right? Yes. Are we all tired?
Yes.
So, you guys are all ready to go. Do you have Thanksgiving plans though? Like, doesn't the International Society do like a dinner? No. Okay, we'll do something. I'll bring cupcakes or something. I won't bake them though, I don't think. But